Good evening and welcome everybody. I feel like I'm on the news. So welcome to our TechFest Digital Festival 2021. This year we're again hosting our festival online due to the ongoing pandemic. Seems like forever and ever, but hey ho, we're still here, still going. So the feedback we received from last year's digital festival was really positive, and being online has opened up possibilities for our audiences, meaning we're not constricted by geographic reach. We can go further afield than just Aberdeen in the northeast, which is great. So if you let us know where you are, we'll give you a shout out. We know Kirsty's in Perth, but there's a few of you in the audience, so if you want to let us know where you are, that'd be really good. It is a webinar this evening and we are recording it, so if you don't catch it all, it will be in our YouTube channel later on. Oh, somebody in Glasgow as well. That's good. Welcome. So, yeah, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Anna, who is our presenter tonight, please do put them in the chat box or the Q&A box at the bottom, and we'll get to them after the presentation has finished. So as ever, our thanks go to our joint principal sponsors, BP and Shell, and also to Equinor, who are kindly sponsoring our digital public programme. And yeah, so without further ado, I will let Anna introduce herself and we'll get on with tonight's presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Anna and I'm part of the Energy Institute Young Professionals Network, and as part of that network, 6 of our young professionals went on a journey around Scotland this year, and we met with energy professionals and young professionals and different companies to find out about the energy mix that Scotland has to offer. So we travelled around Scotland on ferry, Tesla and train, and just went out to see kind of what technologies were out there, what people thought about the journey to net zero, and, you know, are we going to get there, are we not going to get there? And we made a documentary on it. So we launched our documentary about 2 weeks ago now in Glasgow during COP26 at the Scottish Power headquarters. And yeah, that was a great event. It was really fantastic to get it out there. So tonight we're going to view the documentary, and then if anyone has any questions about the documentary or kind of the energy industry or kind of routes into the energy industry, different questions about careers or opportunities, you can just let me know and pop them in the chat.
I think in this environment, I think change has to come far faster than where it's been coming.
And I can see the differences in climate, the differences that we've found over the years.
I think it's really important that we're doing everything we can do to reduce our carbon footprint.
I'm concerned that we're not doing enough now.
We probably need to get there quicker than we're moving at the moment.
I hope we will move quick enough, and we certainly need to move quicker than we are now.
So we've got to learn from that generation coming through, and by taking the learnings, how do we meaningfully apply that into daily business?
We see what's happening with climate change, and we've all got a part to play.
It's not about switching conventional energy off, because we can't do that.
I think that anything we can do that will have a wide-reaching effect on the world is something that's worth doing.
It will take time, yeah, but certainly what we're doing with offshore wind, that's big steps forward in reduction of carbon.
What I've seen, very strong foundations are laid. Now it's really starting to build on that.
The changes that are going to come, this is the first of them, and maybe one of the biggest, but it's not going to be the last.
Nature will start showing the world what has to happen, and when you start seeing nature taking over and showing people what's actually happening, then you do start seeing a bigger response.
You can't go backwards. All you can do is start now, and we need to be starting now.
Our planet is changing. Global rising temperatures, devastating forest fires, rising sea levels and unthinkable biodiversity loss. Our beautiful Mother Earth is fast becoming unrecognisable from the safe, pale blue dot we all call home. This has to be the decade for choice and change, to put our planet back on track and to pivot towards a future that is fairer, cleaner and more secure for all. And change must come. It has to be all of us. It has to be now. Scotland has always been at the forefront of invention. Innovation is in our DNA. It's who we are, it's what we do. We strive to write the next chapter of our history, and the climate challenge is no different. My name is Hannah Mary, and I entered the energy industry to be the change that I needed to see in our world. I had an idea to showcase the very best of what the industry in Scotland has to offer. Real change is happening, right here, right now, and this story needs to be told. This idea became a reality when I teamed up with 3 of my friends, Michael, Anna and Craig, travelling across Scotland, from Aberdeen to the Northern Isles, through the Highlands and down to the Central Belt. We went on a journey. This is our story, and this is what we found.
When faced with a challenge as enormous as climate change, our natural reaction is to turn to technology, smart solutions that we believe are the answer. Throughout our journey, we were privileged to see some incredible technology. From the world's first floating wind farm to carbon capture and the largest offshore tidal array, we saw firsthand the technologies and the people that are making a difference within our energy industry. But what became clear to us along our journey is that technology and innovation will only take us so far. The missing piece of the puzzle is far deeper and far more complicated than we had ever realized. It requires us to dive deep into the realms of what it means to be human, to live a life that is sustainable, to provide for our generation, but to ensure that we don't sacrifice the needs of the next generation. It requires a radical reset of our behaviour.
It's having that long-term view and that long-term vision as to how you want to leave the world. You don't plant an apple tree for like this year, because you're not going to get apples off it this year. You're planting that apple tree so that your kids can have it, or the people who are in the house next can have apples. So it's that long-term view that we need to do.
You can't just depend on the next generation. I think the young people are far more savvy on what has to be done.
You know, am I hopeful? Very much. I don't just think that we'll get to net zero and we'll do it with lower carbon. I think we'll do it with better cars and warmer homes, and everybody will be more comfortable. And yeah, so the future is very bright, I think, in terms of our journey to net zero.
Throughout our journey, it was comments like these about mindset coming from leaders within the industry that gave us hope that real change is not that far off and that it is possible. Every person we spoke to from every company, big and small, had these passionate views that we felt needed to be heard.
For me personally, I feel hopeful about the future of energy. I think we're on the right track as an industry. I think the oil and gas industry and the renewables industry are working together for long-term solutions. I think it's less siloed. It's not just renewables versus oil and gas. The sectors have merged, they're meeting together to look at new solutions, so I feel positive.
We have a really good relationship with the fishing community based here in Wick. You know, we've regenerated the harbour. We work with the fishing communities and all on the other users of the sea. You know, we need to work hand in hand here.
In the West, our responsibility in the energy transition is going to be to recognise that not all countries can move at the same pace. I think certainly in the early stages of it, it'll be important for us to offset other countries as they try and ramp up and catch up with us. So we might have to gear up faster than we think we do in order to counteract other countries as they try to catch up and level everything out.
Collaboration is key for this energy transition to work. That is clear, but how do we communicate that across sectors to the public? And to what level does this need to take place in order to keep pushing forward to make net zero a reality?
Understand that it's going to take more than just one individual or one organisation to come up with a solution. We need to fail fast here, move quickly, and have confidence that our ability to generate solutions and evolve as an industry we've already established. So how can we use that and be braver in our thinking and bolder in our thinking moving forward?
It's a step change for a lot of people to change the way, the attitude towards how we use the natural resources we have. Is that resource one-time use, or is it a renewable source? And you can apply that to everything. You know, everything that you do, you can apply that simple question.
And that sort of societal shift has to happen, well, it has to happen quickly, but it tends to only happen with very little friction. So people and communities will be attracted towards this lifestyle of decarbonisation, I think, because their cars will be cleaner and more pleasant, because their homes will be warmer and more efficient. And I think we are all increasingly aware of the damage we're doing and very keen to ensure that stops. And if we can do that with minimal or no impact on lifestyles and societies and education and everything that we hold dear, then it gets very easy. Anything less than that, we'll need to dig in a little bit deeper, and I still have every faith that we'll find ways and take the hard steps we need to take to get there.
Throughout our travels, we were constantly reminded of how fortunate we are to be able to call Scotland home. We saw the very best of our country, beautiful sunrises, stunning sunsets, and vast oceans that we may take as ours, but in actual fact, connect us worldwide to others. We all take this for granted and don't realise what we have. It's time to look up and pay respect to what surrounds us every day of our lives. This journey was becoming more about action and finding a way forward together. We're taking what we found and sharing it with you in the hope that we can all dig deep, think about our own impact, and understand what we need to do to change our course. How do we help one another to get there and get there on time? A huge part of the answer to this lies in the power of education. The ability to inspire and encourage the next generation to see the energy industry as the place to make real change, the place to make a difference, and the place to solve the challenge of our time.
Education can be impacted across all levels, so everywhere from primary schools through to apprenticeships and further education. We'll need teachers of those primary kids to know more about climate change, because hopefully a great deal of those children will grow up and be involved in net zero, everywhere from traineeships and apprentices in construction sites and in the supply chain, right through to, as I say, technology institutions and innovation in our universities.
So I think education from boardroom right the way down to shop floor is essential. And if that alignment takes place, then I think we're going to be in a really good place. So knowledge share is going to be key.
I think you need the different views from people that's kind of been hands-on.
I don't think you need to go to university. You need to get a boiler suit on and you need to go and work with a tradesman and get on with it.
The sooner you can get the reality of a workplace, the sooner you're going to be able to actually contribute and add value and actually get more out of your experience.
And so I think it's really important that these youngsters and the teachers within the schools and the careers advisors are leading them down the right kind of path that leads to more practical work, because arguably a lot of these people might prefer to go into that area as opposed to being sort of not pushed into further education, but arguably looking to go into that when in fact there's maybe a better route for them to go.
As great as it can be to have a degree, it also is equally important to encourage the practical application of subjects through apprenticeships or trades. The energy industry needs both, and the energy transition will not be successful without both. Our journey to net zero also needs to be fair for people and planet. And we need to make sure that we transition more traditional industry workers into good, new, green jobs.
So from a people angle and from the skill sets we need, we have the skills. So a lot of the skills exist in oil and gas. They exist in chemical industries at the moment. And so we really don't, it's just moving those skills into a different industry.
What I would like to see more of is more public awareness of the energy transition opportunities, a better understanding for people who are, highly technical in oil and gas positions, to really be supported and to help them understand what their role is in the net zero economy. Nuclear
industry is a very highly regulated and highly technological area. So, we've got that pool of expertise in terms of engineering, regulation, safety performance available to us, very similar to the oil and gas. So there's a pool of resource there that can hopefully transition, similar to oil and gas, transition into the clean energy production of renewables.
We've been delivering conventional energy solutions for our customers across the globe for decades, and we see a real transferability in our knowledge of that infrastructure, but also in the skills of our people to pivot towards energy transition. We do need to reskill some people, we do need to transition the skills, we need to upskill.
But you can help people to face that with less fear by giving them more understanding of where things are going to go. I think that means that whereas a lot of strategizing is done at quite a high level, I think it's important that it's well publicized at a low level to make sure that the people who maybe have the most uncertainty and the most fear about it are also some of the people that are going to hopefully have some of the best understanding.
When we were in Shetland, we briefly stopped to see Ninian Northern, an old North Sea oil rig that's in the process of being decommissioned. Rigs like these have powered Scotland for the last 40 years, bringing jobs and success into our communities. Standing in front of this mass of steel being picked apart piece by piece, with wind turbines in full production on the hill behind us, it became apparent that the energy transition is not an abstract concept. It's here and it's happening. And yet there is still so much more that needs to be done and put into place. With Scotland having such a proud history in oil and gas, it's no surprise that the energy industry shares the view that the workforce that we already have is fully capable of upskilling and reskilling into a low-carbon economy. But do they know that?
We need to make sure that we communicate this with impact and conviction, so our workforce understands that they have a significant role to play, that there is a future for them. It's up to us, to our industry, to guide the existing workforce and the generations coming that the energy industry is the place to make serious change towards net zero. But in order for us to make this change, we need support. We need our government to be ambitious, to be brave, and to put policies in place that allow for this transition to happen before it's too late.
We can't do without hydrocarbons. We need hydrocarbons for lots and lots of things. It's too valuable just to burn. It's too valuable just to stick in your car and go down the road with it.
So it's not just about replacing our power stations, and we're doing a very good job of that. But once we succeed in doing that, we'll then need to decarbonise all of transport.
So we need to be looking at carbon in a really global way. We can't just look at it in one place. There will be countries that will be very hard to decarbonise, and renewables is part of the picture of there. But a lot of these countries will also have other industries that are vital for the country, but we need to be able to capture that. Ideally, we'd be capturing it at source. It's more efficient to capture it at source, but carbon capture is another feather in our cap, if you will, that will allow us to decarbonise.
The government is already doing a lot of great things to set pathways and plans and to really do a lot of research into the pathway to net zero. Of course, it's legislated, which was a really big, major step. But I think now what, as a general ask, will be to see a lot of the policy direction, to see all of that really get into action.
We need to be doing everything we can to minimise areas in which hydrocarbons are used, and government policy needs to reflect this. Government is already paving the way and moving in the right direction, but with fuel poverty increasing and other issues on the horizon, we need to move quickly to offer a fairer life for all and to provide a sustainable planet for generations to come.
We see that fuel poverty is going to be one of the biggest issues as a country. As renewable energy comes along, the cost of installing energy at scale either has to be subsidised to allow people to access this energy, or you've got to utilise the off-peak or the lower demand periods.
And that's important because what we want to try to do is not only have clean energy but have cheap and reliable energy for consumers. It needs to look at both ends, not only the generating side of clean energy but also the users as well. There's investment required all throughout from the point of generation to the point of use.
Together, if we can solve these kinds of problems and begin to deliver green energy to the population at affordable levels, we will see the benefits that this provides. However, government backing is essential to make these changes a reality. We need to see more ambition from our energy leaders working together with others to make this change happen.
We need support from a policy perspective, from a government perspective, from a regulation perspective. And we need to get visibility so we can develop a long-term supply chains based in Scotland and in the UK.
And I think government have still got some way to go. So clarity around policy and build-out is absolutely key. First, is looking after the home front to the supply chain. If the knowledge, the capability at a competitive level and a sustainable level resides within the UK, we must be visiting that first.
I think the government, along with industry, has to work harder in trying to ensure that the work is kept as local as it can be and the skills that are available to allow them to do that.
So I think to be able to use local suppliers and fabrication yards that can have local guys there and supply the stuff that we need to build our turbines, I think it could have a pretty good knock-on effect.
I think an area where the government is not doing enough is by being ambitious enough.
I think it's really important that government listen not just to the current energy leaders, but also to young professionals.
There has to be government support and positive policies on low carbon and a transition period. Will have to be.
We're certainly not doing anything extreme yet. We all need to get there, such that it isn't even considered to be extreme anymore. We need to not be concerned about seeing a wind turbine on the horizon. We need to be proud about the fact that our city is net zero because it is a wind turbine on the horizon. Steps like that are fundamental, and it'll take a great deal more public shift and policy to support and help us all get there. But I also think that there's a huge opportunity for governments, local governments, and the significant players in our industries and economies, the large companies like the one I work for, to take a significant stand in this and walk the talk.
The energy transition that we are on is not an overnight switch. It's a journey, and it will take time. Part of the answer is about an integrated energy system that links existing infrastructure, capitalises on renewable energy sources, and exposes the untapped potential of CCS and hydrogen production. But technology and innovation will only take us so far. What is often underestimated is the radical overhaul of our behaviour and mindset. If we manage to get this right, people will be attracted to the shift because our lives will be better. Our homes will be warmer, our public transport will be comfortable and affordable, our fashion more durable, and our cities more breathable. We will be able to abandon the culture of consumerism. Our lives will be one of quality over quantity, and a place of understanding that we all rely on one another. We live in an unbalanced world, and we need rebalance now more than ever before.
I'm not only hopeful that we'll get there, I'm confident we'll get there.
And I'm really, really confident that the younger generation coming up will absolutely rise to the challenge.
Yeah, I believe strongly in achieving net carbon zero.
What do you want to come home and be able to say you've achieved?
That I can actively find new ways to provide energy, but at a lower cost to the environment.
You know, it's the most meaningful role I ever had in my life. For me, it's a daily motivation to get up early, to start already looking into what we have to do.
I think the dream would be to see our turbines all over.
Everybody has their own choices to make, but this to start with everybody.
We're all on this journey together, so we may as well start getting to know each other now.
I think we're only getting going with the industry, to be honest with you.
Rebalancing will come at a cost. In a world prioritising sustainability, the world's richer nations need to shoulder the bulk of those adjustments. These adjustments to a fairer, more balanced world will need a mindset change, fit for the future. It will need an ambitious education agenda, and it will demand a radical policy shake-up with levels of global collaboration that this world has never experienced before. But change must come, and change will come. The question is, are you in?
Go for it.
So if anyone has any thoughts or questions or anything, you can just pop them in the chat, or I'm not sure if you can unmute people if they want to talk about anything.
Okay, we have one question already. Kirsty's asking, has this trip changed the way you live?
I would say it definitely made me a bit more conscious about, I guess, the impacts of day-to-day life, how it has, like what it has on the environment. We did quite a lot of different things on the trip. Obviously did all the areas covering the energy industry, but we also went fishing and sailing and getting to have those experiences and see kind of like the natural environment. It really makes you obviously appreciate what Scotland has, and it makes you kind of be a bit more conscious about how you're living.
Cool. How well, you mentioned that the film was shown at COP26. Was it well received? Did people get on board with your message?
Yeah, so I think it was really, really well received. I think it's all the messages that come together, and I think something we found from the documentary was everyone was kind of saying the same thing, and everyone had kind of the same vision for the future, even though we spoke to all these people like completely unplanned. We didn't prepare them for the questions we were going to ask. So it's amazing how like all the different companies and all the different people, everything they said kind of tied together to tell a story. So that was something that was really good that came from it, I think.
It's quite reassuring that they're all kind of saying the same thing, even though it's, you know, they're working from different companies and things. Steve's asking, how much trust do you have in politicians to make this happen? Oh, there's a leading question now.
I would say the industry may potentially move faster than the politicians in terms of what's going to happen over the next few years with the developments, and the developments are already coming into place from different kind of leaders within the industry. So I think the government definitely need to act maybe a bit quicker in putting their policies in place to be able to go alongside the industry throughout the transition.
Yeah, I think you're probably right that you'll go faster than the politicians. They did seem to be going around in circles quite a lot the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get any more questions coming in. Have a look and see. What about the upskilling of the industry then, or the changing of the skill set? Do you think that's going to be fairly easy to do, or is it just a mindset thing that, you know, if you can weld on one bit of material, then you presumably can weld on another kind of structure?
Yeah, I think the skills are all there. I think a lot of the skills that are already in the energy industry are very transferable, and I think that's something that maybe needs to be communicated better to the people within the industry, because there's obviously a lot of uncertainty. I think maybe people are a bit scared of the renewables coming in and kind of shaking things up, and maybe they won't have a place within the future of the industry. So I think there's definitely more communication needed to the people so they understand that what they're doing right now can then be applied to renewable technologies in different ways. But I think there is certain places out there. So we went to NIG upside Inverness, and they have the NIG Skills Academy. So that's somewhere where they basically just take people in, whether they want to learn new skills or they want to upskill. We met with one of the people who studied there. He was called David, and he did baking for 20 years. He was a baker. He's worked 7 days a week, like was not spending a lot of time with his family, and he's now in the Skills Academy retraining to go work as part of the energy transition. And he just said he basically wanted to have a better life for his family, and that was a really nice kind of like relatable story. You know, it's just, he was just an everyday person, but to be able to see that he's positive about the industry and the fact that he's getting the skills development from that Skills Academy to be able to support his future career was really positive. And I think there's more stuff coming in like that, but yeah, maybe it is something that needs to be acted on a bit quicker from different educational establishments, or even from industry themselves. Do they need to be putting more infrastructure in place to upskill their own staff?
Yeah, because that's a big leap from baking to energy industry. Let's face it. I mean, you could understand if you're already working offshore and you were just changing into the renewable sector from oil and gas, but baking to energy, that's a big leap. That's a leap of faith. That is really good. That is definitely a good story to have on your repertoire, I think. Kylie would like to know what you think about the potential of tidal turbines around our coastline.
I mean, I'm not from like a technical background or anything, so I can't talk on that technically. I think from my perspective, there's a lot of opportunity for tidal energy within the north coast of Scotland and the east coast, just purely because of, I guess, the wind, the tide, the natural resources that we have here on our doorstep. And I think that's the biggest thing about the energy transition within Scotland, is we have all the natural resources already. We're not having to go out and, you know, find something that's not there. So I think there's definitely a lot of room for development. And we obviously went to the orbital marine. We went to see the O2, so we actually got to go out in a boat and see it up close, and that was an amazing experience to see the technology kind of working away. And they've just kind of started distributing their tidal machines. So basically, I think they're putting them out from Dundee, but that's a great kind of like company who's starting to push that industry, and I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity for it in Scotland.
That was the one that went out just this last summer or so, wasn't it? Yeah, the big yellow one.
The big yellow one.
That's all I know about it. That's, yeah, I guess, like you say, if we've got natural resources, we should be using them. And why not put them off the coast? I mean, maybe I'm going to upset the fishermen here, so maybe I'll stop there. I don't know if we've got any more questions or not. I think that's maybe it. If there's no more questions, we'll call a halt. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh, somebody's coming at the last minute. More than a comment than a question. In my experience, it's difficult to make a transition to renewables because many job adverts ask, for example, 8 years experience in renewables. Yeah, I guess that's the trouble, isn't it? It's
I think there definitely needs to be some recognition from companies in the sense of that, because it's impossible to have that experience when it's just such a new kind of area of the industry that's developing. So I guess that's something on industry to be able to look at someone's CV and recognize maybe they've just spent the last 20 years working in the oil industry, but the transferable skills that can come through with that, and then with maybe support of a little bit of upskilling, their opportunity would be there for them to be able to apply all those skills they already have to be able to meet the development of the technologies within renewables.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. A lot it's changing the mindset or even the wording of the adverts really, and realizing that the skills that you gain from one industry are, well, take Baker for instance, are equally transferable into energy and renewable energy industry. So,
I think a good example of that is so how many people do you speak to and they're like, I studied this at university, and then they have a completely different career, but it doesn't matter what you study, it's the skills you learn whilst you're studying or the skills you pick up in whatever career you're in. So if you go to move into a different career or you choose to do something different from what you studied, it's the transferable skills. It's always the soft skills that are really important when it comes to any of this. You have to be resilient, you have to potentially be able to manage projects, be reliable. Like there's so many different soft skills that come into it, and then it's kind of the harder skills that you could potentially learn and develop and upskill in.
No, I think you're right. It's like you say, it's the teamwork and the communication and that kind of skills that are the ones that transfer very easily, rather than the qualification in something that's, like you say, you can pick up later on. No, that's definitely. Sarah is saying, again, a comment rather than a question, there are a huge amount of free upskilling courses that professionals can access via Scottish University, some specific to COP26 and renewables. Oh, great. Thanks, Sarah, for that comment. That's good to know.
I work at the University of Aberdeen, and we just launched our free upskilling courses. So if you're interested, go and have a look at them, because there's some great opportunities there for new upskilling.
Rachel's asking, renewables are a very distributed resource, but transitioning the oil and gas, a concentrated industry, might work in specific locations. But surely the key feature of the energy transition is for more of a society to be involved with lots of smaller distributed generators rather than a few huge projects.
I'm trying to think. Could you read the question again?
I can. Renewables are a very distributed resource, but transitioning the oil and gas, which is a concentrated industry, I suppose specifically location-wise, which might work in specific locations, but surely the key feature of the energy transition is for more of society to be involved with lots of smaller distributed generators rather than a few huge projects. So maybe more localized. So your small town could have its own wind turbine to power whatever. I think
in terms of that, we've seen that firsthand throughout the trip. So when we went up to Orkney and Shetland, we met with a really small company in Shetland. I think they maybe have 1 or 2 employees, and they have a wind turbine and a biomass plant, and the wind turbine produces energy for Shetland, and the biomass plant heats the local swimming pool and some other things within Shetland. And also when we went to Orkney and we spoke with Orbital, both of the messages that kind of communicated from what those people were saying, what the professionals there were saying, was about being self-sufficient, to be able to, maybe potentially come off the grid if anything happened. They could potentially be self-sufficient as a location. And I think there is definitely room for more opportunity with renewables to be able to, for like smaller towns or more isolated areas, to be self-sufficient. So, if it came to the grid going down or anything, there's still the renewable technologies which are using the natural resources, so they can still have energy for their communities.
Yeah, that does make more sense. I think there's quite a few. I know Huntly have got, I can't remember what it's called now. They've got their own wind farm up on top of the hill at the top of the Ends of Foundland, and they're using that to power bits of the town. Oh, what's it called? Green Myers or something like that, I think. Yes, they've got a big wind turbine up there. We visited a few years ago. That's why I know that one. Okay, so have we got any more questions? No, I think that's us done. So anyway, thank you so much for such an interesting presentation. That was good, and the video was fantastic. So well done on that. I know it's taken you a wee while to get it done, and most of the year back spent doing that. So enjoy your free time. I'm sure.
Yeah, we've also got if you go onto the Energy Institute's YouTube, you can also see our COP event, which had our full recommendations talk and the panel discussion as well, if anyone wants to skip past the documentary part and watch just that area of it to see what kind of came out of that, the conversations and stuff.
Oh, excellent. That's definitely a good one. Oh, wait a minute, one more question. Oh, Steve's saying thank you. That was a good presentation. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, that'd be really good if we can well, maybe I tag that onto the end of the YouTube video when we put it up, just say the website link and everything onto that.
Yeah, let's send the link over.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you to our audience for tuning in tonight. I'm sure you enjoyed that. It was very interesting. Remember, our festival does run until the 1st of December. So we've got a couple more weeks yet of interesting talks and presentations for you. And this presentation has been recorded, so it will be on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. But in the meantime, thank you very much for attending, and good evening.